Okay, we'd like to welcome you to the 8th class at the university, where everyone is a professor and a student. That is, we all can learn and we all can teach to each other, and we all can again learn from each other. Where there is no little I's or big U's, where we all are sharing and we're all still learning. We all are still learning. So before we get started, we got a couple of announcements. I already made one, thank you, asking the brothers and sisters to continue to pray for Brother Kenneth Calloway. He's on here now. He's recovering from an illness. Good brother, graduate of Jack Hicks High School, real good brother, supporter of Texas Southern University. Okay, and we want you to go to Lloyd Ford's page, Facebook page. He's a young brother planning some action on demonstrating and protest coming up Monday. And he's a good brother and a good leader, Lloyd Ford. We ask you to go to his Facebook page to get more information. So this is the topic for the day: justice. What is justice, and can we get it? That's the topic under the system of racism, white supremacy. And we also would ask you to listen to something for a moment.
The preamble to the U.S. Constitution. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Okay, now, I guess everyone can hear me well. Okay, so the topic for the day, and you heard that preamble to the Constitution. And here we are in 2020, often saying that we want justice. We want justice. And we'll go off into a thing that we want justice for this person. Often that person is no longer here with us. And we say we want justice for this person, that person. Yeah. And as many people get killed, we just continue to say that. And I don't think we really know what justice is. And if we don't know what it is, we don't even know if we could get it. So it becomes a slogan: no justice, no peace. And we really don't even understand justice. So the Constitution, I think everyone should read the Constitution. I think that was the preamble, what you just heard, to the Constitution. And you heard the word justice, to establish justice. Well, we got to find out what in the world is justice. Because before the Constitution is read, the preamble to the Constitution says justice. Without that, you don't have a democracy. The same thing that we have been saying all along: justice. And if we don't have justice, we don't have democracy. And our position at the university is that we don't live in a democracy. We live in a system of racism, white supremacy, where justice does not apply. But first, before I tell you that, I have to tell you what justice is. And you heard it before. And this was written by Mr. Millie Fuller. Justice is where no one is mistreated. And those who need the most help will get the most help. That's justice. That's justice under the system of racism, white supremacy. Now, you don't have justice because it don't fit. Justice in this system does not fit. They are diametrically opposed to one another. So when we're out there protesting, we should stop saying no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Because we don't know what justice means. And if we did, we wouldn't say that. First, we have to replace the system of racism, white supremacy with a system of justice. But now we got to understand, what is this system? For those that don't know, a lot of you on here, I see the names, a lot of you on here, you know. But it's nothing wrong, because this is going to be shared all over the world. And we have to define racism, white supremacy as a system. Racism, white supremacy is a worldwide system of domination for the genetic survival of those people that are classified as white. It has patterns of control in speech, thought, system formation, action, and emotional response. It operates in 10 areas of human activity: education, entertainment, economics, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, and health, for the ultimate goal of the genetic survival of those people that are classified, that classify themselves as white. That is the definition. Once we understand that definition and exactly how it works, then we should move to replace the system of racism, white supremacy with a system of justice. But know that we are in a system, so we can't get off track by merely thinking the only thing we're going to protest and talk about is police brutality. If we can get police brutality straight, then we will be all right. That is the same mind that Frederick Douglass had. Not criticizing him, because he was on point. That's what he had in the 1800s. He thought that if we could get from under the yoke of slavery, we would be all right, as if slavery is separate from the system of racism, white supremacy. Slavery is just a segment of the system of racism, white supremacy. That was Frederick Douglass in the 1800s. Du Bois, he thought if we could get from under 100 years of lynching and segregation, we would be all right. As if segregation, slavery, and the system of white supremacy is not connected. But it's 2020. We should not be thinking like Frederick Douglass. If we are, know that we don't understand the system. We are somewhere else in the twilight zone. We haven't given any study to this system, because all of those segments come under the system of racism, white supremacy. slavery, segregation, 100 years of lynching, Jim Crow, uh, police brutality, gentrification, the last hired, first fired, all of that, all health, all of those 10 areas of human activity, all of it is under the system of racism, white supremacy. So, what we should be saying while we have it on the table, we shouldn't be talking about the death of George Floyd as if it is something different outside the system of racism, white supremacy. We have it on the table. We have people that are saying it to a degree, they try to throw you off in the news, like on CNN, even on Fox, on different news channels, different speakers. They say systemic, I should say, systemic. And that's okay. It's just systems. Now, why we have them saying that? We should not mainly focus on police brutality because someone else is going to be shot. And then we're going to say, justice for Johnny, like we're doing now. Other people, now, other people were mistreated, murdered by the police force around the country since George Floyd. And tapes have came out since the death of George Floyd. Now, only thing we done was left George Floyd and went to another person. Now we want justice for, I believe the young brother's first name is Elijah, out of South Carolina. He was anemic and he was different in his attitude and style. So on a mere suspicion that he looks suspicious, the police body slammed him, gave him some type of injection in his ear by the medical authorities, and he died. Now we want justice for him. But we have the system on the table. We should learn what the system is and attack the system. It is not just police brutality. It is not. Racism, white supremacy operates in 10 areas of human activity. And police brutality comes underneath law. It is just one area. It is not the sum total of all the areas. And if those officers go to prison, which I hope they do forever, but if they go to, if they go to prison, we should not take the position where we got justice. You're going to hear people say that because we have not. They said it with Jolton, I forgot the brother's name out of Dallas. Well, I can't forget her name. Amber Geiger went in there and shot the brother. We haven't got justice for him, or for us, I should say, because it's not just him and the sister out of Fort Worth, and so forth and so on. So we should not just focus on Bolton John. Yes, thank you, Junior. We should not just focus on police brutality. One death, a death here and a death in New York, then a death in South Carolina, then a death in Washington, D.C. Because while they got us doing that, they're going to be still gentrifying the area. We want to attack the whole complete system. And racism white supremacy is indeed a system. And in that system, justice does not apply. Although in the Constitution of the United States, the preamble, it talks about justice. And they said that justice will ensure domestic tranquility. In other words, peace. But you cannot have any of that if you don't have justice. And we don't have justice. But you cannot have justice until you replace the system of racism, white supremacy. That's a fact. Now, I reading some of y'all comments. Abdul Rauf said a race war. Now, he's just merely saying that I think it was on TV this week, or yesterday or the day before, some police officer said that he just can't wait to kill a whole bunch of niggas, while his black police chief just fired him, as if they didn't know he was a nut already. But we are not just going to focus on him. What about health? The system of racism, white supremacy does damage to our health. That's one of the 10 areas. Black people suffer at the top of the list on high blood pressure, kidney failure, liver cancer, diabetes. All of these are brought on by the system of racism, white supremacy, because the system is stressed 24/7, 365 times whatever age you are. That's how much stress the system puts on you. Until you learn what this system is and exactly, it is a must that we learn what the system is. So, in the death of George Floyd, the police, especially the chief, becomes a celebrity, and black people help him get there. So when he began to co-opt the march and went down the street hugging black people and kneeling on the ground as if he was praying with them, that's all we wanted. I don't care if you was a rapper, they used to spit filth. Now you done found your good conscience and you ain't spitting much filth. That's what we wanted. We wanted to be loved by somebody. So the police chief is taking bows all over the country. At the same time, while he's doing that and we hugging him and acting like we proud that he's our chief, while he got us doing that, the United States Senate and House cannot pass anti-lynching law or to reform the police law. And then I looked on the TV or YouTube, one of them, social media, and some Republican is in the house on a committee in the United States House of Representatives. And every time the Democrats get up there to talk, he bangs on some type of dish or plate to cause some major eruption. And the Democrats, who outnumber the Republicans, act like they couldn't do nothing about it. Sheila Jackson Lee included. The chairman over that particular committee included. Just put it up, you'll see it for yourself. See, we hate to be blunt, like that, but time is getting short. Uh, the country is in the fifth stage. They are not trying to hide their racism, white supremacy. It is 2020, and they act like they can't pass an anti-lynching law. Uh, that means, in genetic terms, is insane. That is uh, almost acid. But that is how the system works. So while we looking at one thing, they doing another thing. And they'll get us tied up going back and forth with that anti-lynching law while they're stealing whole communities right now. And I heard a leader out of Houston, and I said it before, and I just can't get over it. A leader out of Houston tell a group of students that gentrification has nothing to do with racism, white supremacy. Uh, Incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. Instead of us trying to make a name, uh, more of a name for ourselves, let us understand what Mr. Neely Fuller, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing has already written about the system, and attack the system and replace the system with justice. But again, you cannot have justice in this system. While I'm talking, you can also read some of these comments, like Raouf is has posted, and Junior and so forth. Are they? You cannot replace. You cannot have justice in a system of racism, white supremacy. We told you what justice is, what it looks like, where no one is mistreated. Absolutely no one. So any of those people say, I ain't listening to that child. That's what some people may say. I ain't listening to Ali. He ain't doing nothing but talking that racism talk. I ain't got nothing against white people. What? Uh, I ain't talking about hating no white person. I'm talking about justice. I'm talking about the system of racism, white supremacy. So again, the definition of justice written by Mr. Neely Fuller in the 50s, 1954, he wrote that justice is where no one is mistreated, and those who need the most help will get the most help. That's justice. Don't care what color you are. That is justice, where no one is mistreated, and those who need the most help will get the most help. So we do not need to go down Cullen Boulevard, go in Third Ward, New York and Harlem saying no justice, no peace. We want justice from Eric Garner. That ain't the only thing we want justice for. We want justice for George Floyd. That ain't the only thing we want justice for. We want justice because we want to live in a system where no one is mistreated. And those who need the most help will get the most help. And we want justice in all of the 10 areas of human activity. Nothing less. And we have it, and we don't want racism, white supremacy combined with something else. We bring in a charge that we live in a system of racism, white supremacy. This is clear. I shouldn't be one out of X number of black people in the country saying this on a regular basis. I don't qualify. It should be more than this screaming that, more than me. Because if we don't, we will be confused. Confused about what? Confused about justice, confused about everything we think we know. Absolutely everything we think we know, we will be confused. Just like that example I gave you of someone thinking that gentrification has nothing to do with racism. Confused. Just confused. Closing down schools in the black community has nothing to, I heard that before. That don't have nothing to do with racism. Racism ain't in everything. I heard that before. Confused. And I didn't hear this from people on the street trying to figure out which way to go. I heard this from people who call themselves leaders. Yeah. Yeah, they is correct. Already confused about who we are. If you do not know who you are, where you are, and what time it is, we do not qualify for mental health, for having mental health. If you don't know who you are, where you are, and what time it is, as a group or individual, we do not qualify for good mental health. So when you see people walking down the street, uh, barking and hollering and laughing, that's 1 degree. And you may see somebody going into the halls of Congress representing us, 80 years old, and jet black hair slicked backwards. That's another degree. And you may have a representative that you don't see until it's election time. It's another degree of lack of mental health. We may have political leaders, religious leaders, that all they do is tell you about something that happened 15, 1400 years ago and don't apply today, to today time. And if they do, they end the search. Like I used to hear a lot of Christians end sermons like they would end, I don't know if they still do, they would end them, Jesus died. That's how they would end them. And they say, didn't he die on the cross? And the audience, the response would say, yeah. And they say, didn't he die? And they say, yeah. Well, I heard Muslims do the same thing. They go off into a thing and tell you how many businesses they own and how you should own a business without really addressing the most terroristic, the most dangerous system on the planet, and that's racism, white supremacy. And we don't call it white privilege. See, people play games with words to confuse you. Oh, Umar wants me on YouTube. I will, Umar, to explain what time it is. People play games with words to confuse you. They use the word like white privilege. Now, soon white people will be saying to defend that point. White people will be saying, "Well, everybody has privilege. That's to soften the blow. White privilege sound like cotton candy. Cotton you pick out in the field. It's really soft. It's just a little privilege. Everybody has privilege. That's the game. But we should call it what it is. Racism, white supremacy as a complete system. It is terrorism. Every time you go down the street, a policeman get behind you and flashes his lights to a black person, that's terrorism. Because he don't know at that point if the policeman gonna shoot him, beat him, or take him to jail, or let him go. He really doesn't know. That's terrorism. So we telling the people that listen to the university and those who attend, we and the students and professors, we are saying white privilege. Because white privilege takes the sting out of a thing. Just like when people play euphemisms, they don't say, well, he called me nigger. And I understand. But they say he called me the N word. That takes the sting out of it. And it was done quite skillfully. We must give the system of racism, white privilege, excuse me, the system of racism, white supremacy, A+ for that. Because that's exactly what they've done. Added confusion to a thing. There is no white privilege. It is racism, white supremacy, a worldwide system of domination for the genetic survival of those people that are classified as white. It has patterns of control in speech, thought, system formation, action, and emotional response. It operates in 10 areas of human activity: education, economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, and health, for the ultimate goal of the survival of the genetic material of those people that classify themselves as white. It ain't white privilege. I just told you what it was. And we told you how it moved. And under that, under white privilege, is justice. Excuse me, white privilege stuck in my mind. Under the system of racism, white supremacy, is justice. You cannot have justice in the system of racism, white supremacy. Cannot, will not, it won't happen. The preamble to the Constitution, it calls for justice. Read the preamble, we played it earlier. To establish justice, that's what the preamble to the Constitution says. And it cannot be established in a system of racism, white supremacy. Cannot. So we gonna push that the next killing, and it'll be another one, it's gonna be July. So before the month is out, probably before the week is out, another black person will be slaughtered, or a tape will come out that was recorded a year ago, and the DA can't figure out why he should charge policemen after they done body slam the innocent person and that person dies. South Carolina. He just can't see why he should charge them. Justice cannot be had in a system of racism, white supremacy. So Umar has a question. Umar says on YouTube, Umar says, explain what you mean by what time it is. I said earlier that if you don't know what time it is, if you don't know who you are, where you are, and what time it is, you do not qualify. And I'm speaking as a group, but also individual, both. If you don't know who you are, where you are, and what time it is, you do not qualify for good mental health. This is what I mean by what time it is. The system of racism, white supremacy operates, and this is from Mr. Nellie Fuller, and I think the university added a fifth stage. But Mr. Nellie Fuller said the system works in the 4 stages. You can also say this is the time you are in. The stages can be also defined as the time you are in. The time you are in what? The time you are in the system of racism, white supremacy. See, we are endeavored to understand this system on a more in-depth level. We are tired of people talking to us, getting on TV, and talking to us as if we are some little child. And they're not doing it on purpose, because I'm talking about the African American. They're not doing it on purpose, but that's all they know. I don't care if they're Congress people or somebody that graduated magna cum laude is from the university and then went to law school and graduated. They don't know what most of us don't know what racism, white supremacy is. So they'll steer us off. Well, we're sick and tired of being killed in the street. See, that's white privilege. A white person can get stopped by the police and pull out a gun and beat the white man almost to death, him and his white female partner, almost to death with their own billy club. Take off in their car and they don't fire the gun. And they say, why is this happening? I haven't forgot your question. And they say, why is this happening? Every time we say why, we are only giving strength to the system. Because if you listen to this channel, or Facebook, or Google Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Mr. Nellie Fuller, or Imam W.D. Muhammad, you know why. And every time you say why, you are only giving strength to the system of racism, white supremacy. When I saw that tape of that guy beating that female police officer and male police officer with their own stick, and then take off in their car, and they didn't feel the need to shoot him, the first thing that did not come in my mind was white privilege. The first thing that came in my mind was racism, white supremacy as a system. It has patterns of control and emotional response and action. The action didn't call for him to shoot that white guy. But if that was some of you, you would have got shot at least 10 times, probably in the back. And they would have been moving to say it was justified. What do you have to prove that, Ali? Well, the brother that was put, it's so many names, man, you lose the names. The brother who was pulled over the other day sleeping at Wendy's. He beat his body slammed him and ran away. Shot him 3 times in the back. Don't ask why did that happen. Say it happened because we live in a system of racism, white supremacy. And in that system, going back to Umar's question, see, we have to look at everything is connected. Umar wants to know what time, what do you mean by time? In the system of racism, white supremacy, it moves in 4 stages. Stages can also be translated as time. We got a football coach on here. He understands that. One stage, they do one thing, but they do it at the correct time. It's a whole scheme out there, and they do it at the correct time. 4 stages. The stages go as such, as Mr. Neely Fuller wrote them. Establishment. To establish racism, white supremacy. Establish it where? Worldwide. Maintenance. So second stage, maintenance. Maintenance is performed on your vehicle so it can continue to run. Expansion. To spread it. To spread it all over. Refinement. It'll run so good that most Black people don't even know they're in a system of racism, white supremacy. Those are the times. But we at the university added a 5th stage because we use our intellect too, just like Mr. Neely Fuller did, just like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing did, just like Imam Muhammad did. God encouraged us to use our intellect. Don't put your intellect, this is from Imam Muhammad, don't put your intellect in the closet with the mothballs. Well, I'm going to use somebody else's mind. Let me put my mind in this closet. Here's the 5th stage. Brute force. You ain't trying to, refinement means, I guess you can almost say refinement means hiding it. Because some cars run so smooth, man, you don't even know you're in a car. That joker can start up, you don't even know, is anybody starting a car? You ain't even hear the car start. You can't even hear the engine. That car has been refined. These things here, these things have been refined. Used to be massive computer systems when I was in high school. Big old computer. Here it is now. It's in your pocket. That's a computer and a TV and a secretary and a camera. Yeah, right here. Like this TV I'm talking on. It has been refined. You don't even know it's a TV going all over the world. Television. That's what we mean by refinement. The system does not like to be in this stage. It likes to be in a refinement stage to keep you off balance. So you don't know what's really happening to you. You what? Confused. You might run out there on a main thoroughfare and start doing a damn jig right there in the main thoroughfare. That's refinement. But this system now, the system now is in a stage of brute force. They don't care if you see it or not. They don't care if they show a policeman shooting you 6 times in the back. That happened in South Carolina. He was running from the police, shot him 6 times in the back. The same thing happened the other day with the brothers from Wendy. Shot him 3 times in the back. The president comes on TV and talk brute force language. Don't come to Arizona or wherever he was. Because if you come protesting down there, it won't be nice. He said before, we're going to sick the dogs on you. Weaponized dogs. That's brute force. They were doing the same thing in the 60s. At some point, they used brute force. Then they switched back over to refinement. They say, we're going to put up a law, no segregation. Black people can come in. Walter Scott, yes. Rashard Brooks. Rashard Brooks, as Junior points out, that was the one that was at Wendy's. Walter Scott is the one that was shot to death in South Carolina. The same place where Dylan Roof, South Carolina, North Charleston. The same area where Dylan Roof went in and executed nine black people. We were in the stage of brute force. And we did not shoot him. Him being Dylan Roof. They did not, they took him to the fast food joint and then to jail. And he had a weapon. Walter Scott didn't have no weapon. He had a busted tail light. Rashard Brooks, he had a taser that he took from police. And I don't know if he had fired it, but he was running and pointed the taser. And he was running one way and pointing the taser the other way. How accurate could he have been? And you get one shot with a taser because they got the taser reloading equipment in their belt. He don't have it. He ended up dead. Brute force. Sandra Bland got body slammed for smoking a cigarette and not getting out of the car fast enough, end up hung in Hempstead jail. Brute force. And then they, like I was finna say, like in the late 60s, they went back after the murder of Dr. King, they slowly went back to refinement. That's the stage the system like being in. So you can't tell the refinement stage. And they say, yeah, y'all can come to our schools and restaurant and bathroom, restrooms. And we said, yeah, we can go to Galleria now. We can go to Wendy's. We can go to Luby's. Because they went to the refinement stage. We thought it was over. When President Barack Obama was elected to office, it was in the refinement stage. Black people, white people, as well as black people started saying racism does not exist. You remember I told you, refinement, they can run that thing so good that you won't even know it exists. You won't even know it exists. And this was just a couple of years ago. President Barack Obama was elected. You didn't even know it exists. White people voted for him too. And that made us feel all warm and fuzzy outside. What Ali talking about racism for? Them white people voted him in. Yeah, until they saw what they done. Till they saw them black children run around there with a black wife and a black mother-in-law. Now here comes brute force again. They start drawing pictures of gorillas. and telling us that was the president of the United States and his wife. Then next thing you know, it was killing. Trayvon Martin. This happened during the time of President Barack Obama. Trayvon Martin. The president said if he had a son, it would look like Trayvon Martin. The United States Senate, the white people went stone nuts. They started taking off those clothes of refinement. So that's what we mean, Brother Umar Muhammad. Know what stage you're in. Know what time it is. You are in the fifth stage, and it is brute force. And we can't have no distraction. We can't have, I keep looking down trying to keep the time. I don't want to hold you. Here we have, so we can't have any distractions. So some things we have to stop immediately. So Mr. Neely Fuller calls them counter moves to the system of racism, white supremacy. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said they were actions in Black mental health. Imam W.D. Muhammad says it's good. He used the word mother wit. If y'all not old enough to remember that language, mother wit, it means just good common sense. Use good rational common sense. That's from Imam W.D. Muhammad. Here at the university, we develop a term, steps towards freedom. One of the students and professors came up with that. Brother Rafus, well, that's another subject. Anyway, he came up with that term. And here are some of the things that we need to do to practice that. Stop lying on each other. We need to stop it immediately. Stop fighting each other. Stop arguing with each other. Stop stealing from one another. Stop playing around with sex. Stop making our young children believe that they can produce and maintain a family because they cannot. Now, if they go out, your son goes out, a daughter goes out and have sexual relations, and a baby comes, we ain't saying throw the baby away. But don't be on Facebook throwing a party. Here your son is 19, 18 years old, catching a bus with a kindergarten backpack on his back and got a baby. That ain't nothing to party about. That's hurting us. So stop making our children and celebrating them having sex, knowing that they can't take care of no baby. Knowing that. Stop snitching on one another. Snitching only means, under the system of racism, white supremacy, snitching means reporting someone to authorities for your own economic and political gain. Stop using and selling drugs. That includes alcohol. We need to stop it. Because the other day, Brother Brooks got shot to death. For what? Slightly inebriated. Stop. We have to stop. Stop smoking cigarettes. Stop using other forms of drugs and narcotics. Stop teaching and preaching that racism does not exist, because it does exist. And every time you deny it, denying the system of racism, white supremacy is essential to the maintenance of that system. So every time you deny it exists, you've given maintenance to that system. Stop it. And as those are the stops, those are the steps towards freedom. Those are the exercises in Black mental health. Those are the good mother wit, the good common rational sense. Stop. Because if we do not, we will become extinct. That is in play also. And if you don't think you can be genocide, just ask the indigenous people in this country, the ones that are left. They are alcoholics pushed to a reservation with no education in sight. But they come from 500 nations strong. The same thing can be our appetite. Keep up the good work, brothers and sisters. Remember to look up Brother George Floyd and don't just concentrate on him because there'll be a whole bunch of other George Floyds. We talking about the whole system of racism, white supremacy. Continue to pray for each other and look up on Facebook, excuse me, first Facebook, Lloyd Ford. He got some action coming up. Okay, keep up the good work, brothers and sisters. We always end with a prayer. Oh, Allah, please have mercy on us and please guide us and bless our parents, for they have done the best they can do. Bless them with paradise. And for those who have gone on before us, bless them with the highest state of paradise. And those who are still here, give them good in this world and in the hereafter, and save them from the torment of the fire. Now, I said a lot, but all the beautiful names, all the beautiful names belong to God. I just used Allah. I could have just said God or the Creator or Jehovah. Thank you, brothers and sisters.